My name is Kathy Pettit. I co-direct NNIP with my colleague Leah Hendy. So we're so excited to see old friends and new friends I've met this morning already, and really appreciate, as always, we know how valuable your time is and that this is your investment to the network. So welcome to all and old NNIP friends. Some logistics, the restrooms are just down the corner that way. We'll be tweeting using hashtag NNIP, and we want to welcome the webcast audience too. So many staff and friends of NNIP who aren't lucky enough to be in the room and make the travel are able to participate. So there's just a few opening remarks before we get going on the first session. We always start by sharing, reminding everyone why we're here, what is our shared purpose. So all the NNIP partners gather and organize neighborhood level data at the administrative level, but really the important part is to share this data, to get it out to the neighborhoods who have not traditionally had it, and to make change in our community. And then finally, to really improve the whole civic infrastructure, improve our community's capacity to use data to advance equity and health and the neighborhoods where we live. So we have about 70 partners here from 30 cities, about a third of them here for the first time. A couple of them even got brave enough and volunteered to speak on their first conference, which is fabulous. And also, we have an alumni network that's amazing also, and there's the largest number ever, 8 alumni are around that you'll get to meet who have experience in the NNIP partnership. So Urban Institute is the home of NNIP, so this will probably, we have a great speaker today, Brett Theodos, one of our colleagues. So we draw from the Urban Institute, which is a nonprofit policy research center that does work on justice policy, tax policy, nonprofits, health, labor. So this is really the core and where we draw our strength from as NNIP staff. And we share a lot of the same values between Urban and NNIP about the belief in the power of evidence and the focus on ensuring opportunities for all. We also start off with thanking the funders who made this possible today. Our longest funder is the NECASey Foundation. Cindy Guy and Chris Kingsley, many of you know who couldn't be here this time, but we are lucky enough to have Eritrea Habitamariam here, who's in the back, who is learning for the first time and getting to know all of you. George Hober is here from Robert Wood Johnson Foundation, and Octavia Wuchek sent her regrets she couldn't be here. Elizabeth Grossman and Warren Flood are here from Microsoft. I'll talk about our project in a minute. And the Institute for Museum and Library Studies and the Kresge Foundation funded cross-site projects that I'll mention in a minute too. So these are, we are so lucky to have funders that they don't just write a check and walk away. They're really thought partners and champions and cheerleaders for the network, which is really, I'm very grateful for all of their personal support. And then we are really fortunate this time to bring a couple of new staff. Camille, Marcus, and Cassie are here for their first time, so we have an unusual piece. Can staff people raise their hands? So everyone has been working very hard to get ready for you, and they know that our job is to be your host the next 3 days. So if you need anything big, small, have a comment, please grab one of us and we will make sure that it gets done. And then finally, I wanted to, before we get too busy, thanks today you can use to Katie and Carrie and Don Hutchinson, who's been helping with all of the arrangements. So if we could just give them an early round of applause. We love visiting new cities, and so this is one of the benefits of NNIP, and we always try to reduce as much burden as possible on host cities, but we know that many details fall to them as they make it welcoming for all of us and try to arrange good weather. So we have a very special guest today. Mayor Tom Barrett is Milwaukee's 40th mayor and has served in that role since 2004. Prior to becoming mayor, he was 10 years in the U.S. Congress and 4 years in the state Senate. And Katie assures me that also he's a friend and advocate of neighborhoods and of data. So he's the perfect person to welcome us to the city. So if we could thank them.
Well, thank you very much and good morning. Welcome to Milwaukee. I've been waiting for you. We're delighted that you've chosen our city, and I hope you get an appreciation that we are a city that's fighting back. And as my staff reminds me over and over again, tell people, and we're winning. We've got a lot of progress in the city. We still have some challenges, and I'll touch on those. But like most politicians, I feel most comfortable talking about myself. So let me start there. I've been involved in politics for many, many years, and my roots are very much in the neighborhoods. Not neighborhood groups, not neighborhood organizations, but I started out as a young person interested in politics, and I knocked on doors, and I knocked on doors, and I knocked on doors, and I would knock on 150 doors a day, and I did this literally for years. I would say 70,000 doors. So my roots are very, very deep in neighborhoods. And I start with that because one of the more interesting challenges that I have now as the mayor of this city is there's a lot of really great things that are going on in the heart of the city. I use that term purposefully. And people are saying, well, what about the neighborhoods? What about the neighborhoods? What about the neighborhoods? Because what's happened is there's been such a resurgence in investment in the heart of the city that people in neighborhoods are saying, well, what about us? What about us? Which is a very legitimate question. And my response is generally, look, I don't care who you are, you have to have a strong heart. You have to have a strong heart. This city's heart was not strong a decade and a half ago. There was a lot of disinvestment. We were losing jobs. There was some population, and I felt we had to have a strong heart. To put it another way, and this is where data comes in, our heart of the city, or our downtown area, comprises about 3.5% of our land mass, the city of Milwaukee. Yet it produces, now in the latest assessments, a little over 23% of the tax revenue for the city, and that's up from about 19%. Using data. Data is important. Using data. And so the argument that I make in the neighborhoods is, look, if you want to have a neighborhood library, or you want police presence, or you want to have fire protection, we've got to have a strong heart here, because it's the strong heart that is producing the tax revenue that allows us, particularly in low-income neighborhoods, to provide a lot of the amenities that we all want to share as residents of our city. And so that doesn't mean that we're in any way abandoning neighborhoods. It's just that we have to try to do everything at the same time. Now, the other thing that goes through my mind as I'm saying this is a saying that my mother had when I was growing up. And her saying was, a mother is only as happy as her unhappiest child. And if you're a parent, you know what my mother was saying. And so when I lie awake at night, it's about, okay, what do we do in the neighborhoods? Because that's where we're having more challenges in some of the neighborhoods. There's far too much poverty in this city. There's neighborhoods where housing is a real issue, where education is an issue, where public safety is an issue. And how do we translate a lot of the great successes that we're having in the heart of the city? How do we translate those and make them real in our neighborhoods as well? But that's the challenge I think many of us face who love cities, who are trying to make sure that we're dealing with issues of inequality and justice at the same time. We want to have economically vibrant cities. So that's where the partnerships come in, which again is another thread. So just so you know, I got the message. Data, partnerships. And we believe we are doing both here. data partnerships. And to put it another way, I served in Congress for 10 years. Before that, I was in the state legislature for 8 years. And the way I describe the local government is not with a positive word or a negative word, just with what I consider a very descriptive word. We are very gritty, and very gritty, which means there's not a lot of theory at the local level, right? I mean, it's what works and what doesn't work. And the way I describe it, if something doesn't work, we stop doing it and make believe we never did. If something does work, we continue doing it, and then I take credit for it, no matter who came up with the idea. And so we've had this wonderful partnership with our leading community foundations, who really are leading the charge in many ways in helping us transform neighborhood by neighborhood, by in a very, very meticulous way, zeroing in on neighborhoods and saying, can we make a significant difference? Sometimes literally block by block. What can we do? And I'll use foreclosures as an example. If you go to right before the start of the Great Recession, the city, had 78 houses in our inventory of homes that we had repossessed through tax foreclosures. Fast forward, because of the timing of our foreclosure process, our peak was not until several years after the beginning of the Great Recession. But that inventory grew to about 1,400 at one point. And so our challenge, and the way I describe it is, I don't want to own these homes. And the reason I don't want to own these homes is because an empty home is something that we want to get back into circulation. And there are 4 benefits of getting these empty homes into circulation. First, again, I want to have families live in these homes. And I've been to these homes, and I've seen them. And again, this is where the grittiness comes in. One of the most memorable, in a sad way, things that goes through my mind is going through a home that's been foreclosed on and going to the kids' bedrooms. Because what I saw over and over in kids' bedrooms is I would still see posters on the wall, or I'd still see tennis shoes. And so you could tell that a kid lived there. And I remember leaving one of these places, and the neighbors were right there sitting on the front porch after I toured it. And I asked them about the family who lived there. And she told me about when they moved out and how the kids were crying when they were moving out. And the impact that had on this family. And so you can't, the data doesn't translate into that. That's just pure emotion as to, okay, how do we put these houses back into circulation to have families living there? But it goes beyond that. If you have an empty house on the street and it's boarded up, that's not good. If you have 2, that's not doubly bad. That starts the exponential run. If you have 3, the exponential run goes higher. And what I mean by that is the downward pressures it puts on other property values. Because if you go down a block and see 4 boarded up houses, it screams out to you, this is a street in distress. And so it drives down property values. So we want to have people home so that we can reverse that and have those property values start going up. So that's the second benefit. First benefit, families. Second benefit, property taxes. The third benefit is the resources that it uses from the city, or the county for that matter, where we obviously have to have increased police presence. We have to have our Department of Neighborhood Services, our fire department, our health department. So it uses up city resources when you're monitoring property or when you have people come into the property. So that's a third reason we want to have it. And the fourth one, and it shouldn't be a surprise to anybody, is I want these properties that pay property taxes as opposed to draining them. So there's 4 separate reasons why it makes sense for us, besides the fact that it's the right thing to do, to put our houses back into circulation. So again, it's a very gritty process. It's a very pragmatic process on how do we do it, and it's the right thing to do. And so what we've done is we've worked with our partnerships with our foundations, who have really been the leaders in this. They're the ones who have been driving this because we're a city that's very strapped for resources. But it allows us to leverage more support, and it allows us to think creatively because they can do things that we can't do. And it puts us in a place where, again, block by block, we can do this. And the way I describe all of this is so much of what all of us are dealing with are macro issues. They're macro issues about race, they're macro issues about injustice, they're macro issues about income inequality, wealth inequality. But oftentimes, at the local level, those macro problems turn into micro solutions. Because again, house by house, block by block, neighborhood by neighborhood, you're trying to bring life back into the neighborhoods. So we need the partnerships. We rely on the partnerships. We benefit from the partnerships. And it has to be done with data, because it can't just be what feels good. It can't be just, well, we're on the side of the angels. It doesn't work. We've got to show progress to make it real. And that's why we think what you're doing is so, so important. So we're very, very thankful. And we feel that the more we can do this, the more we can create these partnerships, the better off we're all going to be. So that's my policy thrust, if you will. As mayor, just a couple other things. I met someone from Charlotte. Congratulations to Charlotte, who's going to be hosting the Republican National Convention next year. We are proud that we are going to be hosting the Democratic National Convention here in Milwaukee next year. This is the first time in the history of this state that a major political party is going to be hosting a convention here. And so we invite you all back. Sleep in your cars, because it's going to be a big press on the city, but we're very, very excited about that. And then finally, again, wearing my mayor's hat, I think when we get the opportunity to go to meetings like this, it's always fun to see a new city and to see what the local customs are. If you go to St. Louis, sooner or later you're going to go up in the Arch. If you go to New Orleans, sooner or later you're going to go down Bourbon Street. If you go to Boston, you're going to go to the Freedom Trail. Our local custom here is a little different. We have a lot of bars here. We're not asking anybody to leave here, but the local custom here is just a little different. And that is, before you leave the city, if you could just take 1 minute, just take 1 minute, and make sure you spend all of your money. That's so again, welcome to Milwaukee. Enjoy the sunshine. Friday morning is going to be the earliest sunrise of the whole year. So get up and milk your cows and do your paper route, and then come to the conference and enjoy yourselves. Thank you very much.
I was sharing that I'm sure that I've told many of you on the phone how impressed I am with Milwaukee's partnerships, and you'll get a chance to hear about them later this afternoon. Wanted to get back to the thank yous and acknowledgments of who's in the room and who contributed to the meeting today. Starting with the executive committee, could you guys just stand up who's here? So the executive committee had monthly phone calls with us and have had a lot to do with the panel. The panels, we bounce ideas off of them, any policy pieces, major directions. We go to them for large and small things. And if we could just give them a round of applause. And also to acknowledge again about the contributions to the network. We have 20 staff speaking from 17 different organizations. So part of what makes NNIP much easier is there's so much wisdom in within the network that we can share from the piece of this. So be sure to thank your fellow panelists that have done the work of getting presentations together. I should have put this in order, but here's your Milwaukee panel speakers. You'll be hearing from later. You'll see the mix of nonprofits and anchor institutions and foundations, and then you will want to run home and create your own community development alliance after being inspired by all of them. And be sure also to thank your tour guides tomorrow, other local folks that lots of people have been chipping in to make our time special. We'll have guest speakers here today. Brett Theodos, I mentioned, my colleague, has come to talk about opportunity zones, and Marianne Zuck has come as a guest. I think she's doing an Ignite and some camp sessions that you can meet her from Berkeley. And then guest cities. I think this is, I haven't kept track, but I think this is a record number of guest cities that we have. So these are cities that are interested in NNIP or interested in some of the work we do, exploring what we do, but haven't but haven't been accepted yet. So please be nice to them. But we have credentialed them in. We have checked them out. They have tons to offer, doing lots of great data and neighborhood engagement work at their own home, in their own home neighborhood. So reach out to them. The descriptions are in our new rubric on the app or on the website, a description of those organizations and where they are in the process. And then just, I would like to mention that we had an amazing pre-session yesterday. It was on the role of philanthropy and local philanthropy in building data capacity. We had a very vigorous conversation around, which started around technical data capacity and then moved on to power and trust and the accountability that we need and the set of ethics that needs to wrap around our work. So the conversation was better than we could have hoped for. Local funders from around the country came, and several of them are here with us today to learn from all of you and to share from their own cities. And we have a camp session, I think, proposed on capacity, on different kinds of data capacities where we can share what we presented if you're interested in voting for camp. We also did something, I forget who came up with this idea of my staff, but have a new thing called their shout-out box. So another feature of the network and why we are so powerful is how generous all of you are with each other and sharing time. So if some partner has helped you in the past few months, or you've gotten inspiration from seeing the latest immigration report from Boston or the displacement work from Chicago, please fill out a card and drop it in the box out front of the registration desk. Because we want to be able to recognize these folks and to keep track of how the network is working. So I'm going to zoom through these, I think. We have 4 cross-site projects. One, Turning the Corner, just wrapped up. It was around preventing displacement in 5 cities, including Milwaukee. All the final products were released and funded by the Kresge Foundation. There's several, I think there's 3 or 4 gentrification displacement related camp sessions, so we'll have a chance to learn more about that. Civic Switchboard is still going on strong, so this is a project funded by IMLS to encourage public and academic libraries to get involved in the local data ecosystem. It's run with the University of Pittsburgh, the Pittsburgh Carnegie Library, and the Pittsburgh University Library System. There's many ways to get involved. If you wanted to stay updated, they started a public Google group, Twitter, and they're about to release their guide and do a webinar on their guide for local libraries if you want to get involved in that. Liz Monk is the leader of that work. The Census 2020, we've had some great sessions before. San Antonio and Baltimore finished their short mini grants to do the work locally. We learned a lot from that work. Olivia and I have been working on briefs and blogs and spreading the word, and we have a camp session planned for that. I know the survey, thank you for everyone who filled that out. About 70% of you are supporting local nonprofits, either with analytics or convenings around the 2020 census, so we know it's a big interest. And then finally, we are continuing the Microsoft project. We had a survey last summer that all of you filled out that talked about the full range of community criminal justice work that you're doing, whether it's policing or courts or reentry. So that brief by Dean Obermark came out, I think, just before the LA meeting. And now we're digging in with USC and LA around a new policing index to try to think about both the police initiated interaction with communities like vehicle stops or arrests, but also community initiated interactions in positive ways. So the trust with 911 or other pieces. So we have a camp session that we hope to have today, if you all look for it. So go in lunch. And you can learn more about that. But we're also very eager to hear what your latest policing work is. And you're updated from the summer. So we're going to do introductions.
Do we have time, or do you want to save that?
Let's get the goals. I guess we could just do it like a
Okay.
Do you want to do one? Okay. Well, we will go back with the mentee polls later. If we wanted to just start them with introductions around the room, we have a full room, but I really wanted everyone to be able to say their name. So if you can just say your name and city, so we can identify each other, and then we'll move on to the agenda.
Anthony Owen, Dallas.
Edie Blakeson. Jay Woolcreest. Kate Richard, Milwaukee.
Harvey Miller from Columbus, Ohio.
Ellen Shepard from Chicago.
Brian Brenner from New York.
Michael Barnes, Milwaukee.
Eric Jackson from Asheville, North Carolina.
Hello, I'm Janelle Hunt from Milwaukee.
Scott Hughes from Albuquerque, New Mexico.
Devin Keithley from Columbus, Ohio.
John Cruz, St. Louis.
Mike Carnathan, Atlanta.
Mike Tram, Cleveland.
April Irvin, Cleveland.
Bob Brad, Pittsburgh.
Stand next to me, so Erica Raleigh from Detroit.
Todd Clausen, Green Bay, but formerly Milwaukee.
Noah Irvin from Detroit.
I'm Caroline Baldwin from LA.
Jake Cohen from Chicago.
Rachel Barachko from Grand Rapids.
Jerry Pine, San Antonio.
Allison Flyer from New Orleans. Eleanor Tutt, Pittsburgh.
Jordan Ayala, Kansas City.
Sean Farley, Dallas. Fernando Myers, Milwaukee.
Eric Woodworth, Edmonton.
Aaron Schill, Columbus.
Trevor Matos, Boston.
Jay Herman, Kansas City.
Unagi Andres, Indianapolis.
Cassie Scott, Washington, D.C. Elizabeth Brown, Hartford, Connecticut.
Michael Pavelka, Pinellas County.
Mariam from Milwaukee.
So we can play that, Boston.
Brian Mars, Miami.
Survey 130, Richmond, Virginia.
Laura Simmons, Charlotte.
Eli Portillo, Charlotte.
I'm Katie Zager, Charlotte. I
Updates with us will be each month.
Karen DeHace, Kansas City. Eritrea Haptamadium from Baltimore.
Nick Redding, Honolulu.
Katie Felix, Columbus.
Adam Ford, Columbus.
Boots Whalen, Columbus.
Scott Dahl, Hartford, Connecticut.
Jonathan Lake, St. Louis.
Kate Morgan, Milwaukee.
Elizabeth Grossman, Microsoft, the whole U.S.
Kayla Gonzalez, Milwaukee. Keith Wasserat, Milwaukee.
Eric Mendes, Milwaukee.
Mariko Toyoji, Seattle.
Katie Jean Birmingham.
Warren Flood, Detroit, Cleveland, and Pittsburgh.
Hi, CJ Eisenberg, Yeager, Phoenix, Arizona. Kate Madison, Milwaukee. Hermione Classen, Milwaukee. Laura McHugh, San Antonio.
Sarah Rand, Milwaukee.
Ashley Levylette, Austin. Camille Seabury, New Haven.
Mark Abraham, New Haven.
Jeff Smith, Chicago.
Austin Harrison, Memphis.
Jenna Hirsch, Philadelphia.
Alejandro Cerro, Dallas.
Olivia McClure, Durham. Danielle Wood, South Bend.
Brittany Durham.
Yvonne Michael, Philadelphia. Rachel Wagner, Philadelphia.
Troy Rosenkrantz, Flint.
Sarah McDonald, Flint.
Malika Miller, Milwaukee.
George Over at the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation in Princeton, but working nationwide.
Carrie Musbudget, Milwaukee.
Basically Philadelphia.
Alina Cano, San Antonio.
Kayla Bernardinello, Madison, Wisconsin.
Katie Wade, Houston. Ming John, Houston.
Justin Insminger, Memphis.
Sean Harris, New York.
Marcus Gaddy, DC.
Anna, DC.
Kelly Manny, DC.
Excellent. Thank you very much for zooming through all that. Can people hear me? Is it working? Thank you very much for zooming through all that. We have skipped that in the past, and then we feel like we don't quite get anyone identified in the room. So we do have an unspoken rule that city people should not sit with their other city people, so we should maximize learning by spreading out. So you don't have to get up and move now, but just take it from pass it on to Rob to go over the agenda and logistics.
Good morning. Just run through the agenda, which is located in several different places. You can pick one up, paper copy in the hallway. It's on the YAP, which I highly recommend downloading if you haven't already. And it's on the NNIP website as well, neighborhoodindicators.org. So after we're finished, in just about 10 minutes, we're going to start the first half of the session. It's about opportunity zones. We have a really great panel. John Cruz is going to lead that one. We also have Brett Theodos, Aaron and Jeff joining them as well. And just a quick note that all of the framing pages that we used to distribute in the packets, the bound booklets, are now available on the NNIP website. So if you want to read about any of these in advance, and on the app, so if you want to read about any of them in advance, or you want information after the fact, that's where you can find it. We're going to do lunch at 12:30. That is in Salon C, which is in this hallway, but it's not in this room, so it should be pretty obvious where to go. Follow the smell, follow the food, you'll find it. We have the first NNIP showcase at 1:30, formerly called Ignite. Those are the 5-minute presentations. It's a great opportunity to learn about a lot in a short period of time. And then at 2, we're going to have the Milwaukee panel, which Kathy already introduced, and a wonderful group who's going to be presenting then. Our first camp session is at 3:45. Olivia's going to talk about camp, so make sure that you take some time during lunch to go through the session so that we can build out a great first session for this afternoon. And then we're going to have the reception today. We are doing the reception and the tours on different days. So reception is today. It's a walk from here, and we're going to meet at 5:15 p.m. in the lobby just down the hall to walk over as a group. But if you're running late, you have something else you need to do this afternoon, you're welcome to walk over on your own. Address is in the agenda, so use Google Maps and head over whenever you're ready. It's only a few blocks away. A note on the reception: unfortunately, only participants are able to attend. We had to provide the building security with a list of names, and so all of you are on the list. Don't worry, but if you have others traveling with you that aren't part of the NNIP group, unfortunately, they won't be able to join us this evening. Tomorrow, if you are a runner or fitness enthusiast, you can do a 3.5-mile casual run of Milwaukee with a city planning staff member. It's the city of Milwaukee, so that's going to start at 6:50 a.m. bright and early. Meet in the lobby of the hotel to head off for that. For those of us who aren't attending. The run breakfast is going to start at 7:30. If you do go on the run, you'll have plenty of time for breakfast. At 8:30, we're going to present 2 awards, our Thomas Kingsley NNIP Impact Award and our Network Steward of the Year Award. That's at 8:30, and then at 9, we're going into supporting data-driven advocacy. Kathy's going to moderate that, and we have a panel of wonderful NNIP partners on that. At 10:30, for 2 hours, we're going to do a hands-on workshop about telling your story. So you're going to hear from a wonderful facilitator, and he's going to give you all the tips and strategies that you need to help tell your story, so that you can make sure that everybody knows about all the great stuff that you're doing back in your city. We'll have lunch again in the same room as we're having it today, and then we're going to have our second NNIP showcase right after lunch. So again, a great chance to see a lot in a little bit of time. And then we're going to do our second camp session at 2:15. The neighborhood tours are tomorrow. They're going to depart at 3:45, and just a quick update, the agenda has something we need to update. We're not going to end at 5, we're actually going to end at 5:30. So if there is some place you need to be at 5, just be aware of that. And they are all first come, first serve. There's a limited number of seats on each bus. So if you really want to go on one of them, then make sure you arrive early. And you can see what they are. If you want to read about them in advance, there's a handout on the hallway. And it's on the app and it's on the website. So that's where you can find all the info you need for this week. Friday, we're going to start with breakfast at 8 o'clock, and then at 9 o'clock, we're going to do a session about local media, TV, radio, podcasts, lots of good stuff. I'm moderating that one, and I'm joined with 3 great panelists for that. And then we're going to do our third and final NNIP camp session in the morning, and wrap up with NNIP showcase, followed by lunch and reflective closing session. So we have a lot in store. Hopefully you'll be sticking around for the full 3 days, and if you have any questions about the agenda, just ask me or any of our staff members. I already gave you some of the info on the reception and tours. So if you want to find out about the tours, just grab a handout outside, and if you want to walk over with us to the reception tonight, you can join us at 5:15 here in the lobby. If you haven't already, the NNIP meeting app, you can download it at this URL, my.yap.us/NNIPMKE. It's got schedule of events, it's got a list of all of you. Information about NNIP Camp will be uploaded as the sessions are developed, so that's a great way to keep track of what's going on and where. We also have the restaurant list provided by Data Use. Thank you for writing a wonderful restaurant list for us. You can also follow NNIP with the hashtag and use the social feed to chat with your fellow participants. Please use good judgment when you're using the social feed. By default, push notifications are enabled. We know that not everyone wants to receive push notifications, so if you want to turn them off, you can click on the hamburger icon, you can go down to notifications, and then you can select to receive all notifications, only those from NNIP HQ or none. We do highly recommend you at least receive the ones from NNIP HQ in case there are any important updates that we need to push out to everyone. And with that, I turn it over to Olivia.
Hey y'all, welcome to Milwaukee. I'm excited to be here. By now you've already heard camp, NNIP camp thrown around several times, and you probably received my incessant emails. So as an overview for camp, what is it? It's an unconferenced session. So it's not a structured session, it's a chance for us to build an agenda together, build things that we're interested in, and as session ideas come up throughout the meeting, topics that you want to learn more about, it's an opportunity to present those ideas, an opportunity to have informal conversations, opportunity for participants to set the agenda, and to have a focused discussion. That being said, you've probably seen the NNIP camp wall outside. We had a virtual wall proposed prior to this meeting where people were able to give ideas, say yes, volunteer to lead. I'll be following up with anyone who volunteered to lead. So thank you. That being said, it's very low stakes opportunity to, if you have an idea, want to get feedback on a product, just really propose something. You don't know who else in the room is thinking the same thing you are. So submit an idea. Vote on your favorites. You'll notice the little green, red, yellow, blue stickers. Just propose one mini, put them anywhere you want, as many as you want, just so we can gauge what people are interested in talking about. Volunteer to lead if necessary. If you're feeling a little bit nervous, you can talk to me. I have some tips that I can hand out. But being a leader is really just being a group discussion facilitator. So really, we encourage you to step into that role. You'll have a note taker from NNIP staff, so no pressure. On Wednesday and Thursday, we're going to build our agenda for the next few days. So also, if you are interested in leading or attending a session, but have time constraints, write those on there. Like, love to talk about this, won't be here on Friday, and we can try to accommodate that. April is helping Kelly, Camille, and myself set up the wall so you can talk to any one of us. The other thing is we're going to be putting all that information and where those camp sessions are being held into the app. So really download the app. It's a great way to get information and to keep track of all of the many moving parts of the meeting. As far as voting, we had some votes come in prior, hence my many emails. But you're still able to vote today. Here are some of the deadlines. For the most part, they happen at lunch or in the morning on Friday. So again, take time to look at the camp board. And rules. Really very few rules. Set your own agenda. Introduce yourself. Assign a note taker, so if someone from staff isn't there, ask if anyone wants to take notes. That being said, all of the notes, unless specified, are going to be public post-meeting, but we're going to take them in a Google Doc, so you'll be able to change things, remove things that maybe you said in the spur of the moment, but now don't want publicly posted. After the meeting, an NNIP staff member will email your camp session and say, hey, you should take a look over this on Wednesday, I'm posting them. But tweet if everyone agrees in your camp session. Basically set your working agreements whenever your camp session starts. Come and go as you please and have fun. Be creative. And if you notice that you and 4 other people want to talk about something but it isn't on the formal camp agenda, take that opportunity to have a smaller discussion, meet in the hallway. Just really try and have it recorded in some way so we can capture all of your wonderful, thoughtful feedback. Sounds good? Well, welcome to Milwaukee.
The special announcement is that we're working on a special project at this event. So Camille and I are doing 2 videos, and we're going to need people to contribute to those. So tonight at the reception, we're going to ask you to answer the question, what does NNIP mean to you? What do you get out of the network? Why do you love being part of this? And so start thinking about what you might want to say, and we'll do a very short, minute or 2 interview with you so that we can get those recorded and write a nice little video so that everyone knows why NNIP is so special. And then tomorrow we're going to put what you've learned into action during the storytelling session. So you're going to spend 2 hours learning to tell your story, and then we want you to tell your story. So we'll be recording some of those with you guys telling the story that you develop with the skills that you're going to learn then. So again, please find me or Camille. She is back there. She has the pink sweater at the reception tonight. And make sure that we get your contributions. And with that, I think it's 11:15. So Kathy, do you need any one?
Yep, I think we can.
Okay, so we'll welcome up John and the panel and go right into the student feedback.